like trying to get my drums and just like, fuck you. And like, just like, how did my like paradise get ruined in an instant?
And also the farm had the greatest t-shirts as well.
Oh, so good.
I love the farm t-shirts.
Yeah.
As an aside. I know.
Okay, let's go into another song. This has been fun. She Gets Away with It.
Hilarious. The disco loadouts.
Okay, muting all. I'm going to count you down. She Gets Away with It. 3, 2, 1, go.
For you this time, trapped into a corner of your mind. No matter how far you could drive, she's in the back, you're just giving her a ride. She gets away with it. She says she can't make up her mind. You write her a million notes, she leaves them all behind, pouring off of every page their only words, they won't make a stay. She gets away with it. She slaps it with her hand and seals it with a kiss. She'll break your heart and treat you like nothing ever happened. She'll take your heart and leave you with nothing. Just serve you right, something that's so fine, so rare here in this life, made to sit inside your cage. She picked the lock, now she's gone away. She gets away with it. Slaps it with her hand and seals it with a kiss. She'll break your heart and treat you like nothing ever happened. She'll take your heart and leave you with nothing. She gets away with it. She gets away with it.
Dude, that is such a great song.
So good.
So let me ask you this. My memory of that, and I may have made this up, but I feel like we cut that live with you in the vocal booth at the theater, Brandon playing live, and Dave played bass on that, right?
Did.
Yeah. And the three of you cut that live. This is how I remember it. Like we did a few takes, but that was literally a live take, not spliced.
Yep. I remember that too.
I could never like play that and then sing over that, because we played it by a lot by that point too. It was very fun, the song.
And Christian came in and overdubs his vocals, but like that is truly like one of my most the memories of like, loving being a record producer and recording, like that moment, like sitting in the control room and like you guys were all out in the big room. Brandon was like on the left on the B3, you're in the booth. De La, I think, was maybe with me or maybe out there, I don't know, but it was like watching magic happen. Like it was just like rolling tape, and like that happened. The only thing that got added was Christian's vocal afterwards. Everything else was just like you guys played it. And
It's
it was
so
like
interesting, the grouping.
shit.
Yeah, the groupings of these songs are so interestingly, I mean, it was unconscious choice, but each one has a very conscious connection between each one. Like I feel Call It Even to This is the instrumentation is so, and but then the next bit is that was a track that Christian wasn't there maybe, and Hard Rain was a track that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Brought to me. And then I sang. I mean, so all these like little correlations between stuff. The other thing is that track, the harmony singing is so tender. There's so many things to hear in that song, but Christian's harmony is one of his finest moments to me, singing with me. He listened to how he brings the track, like it's incredible.
Yeah, it does. You're exactly right. It does this sort of like
so remarkable when he comes in and sings. And I spoke about that last week about how much I love that when harmony takes over like that. But when it takes over, Alyssa Hadley used to do that with me too. She was so good at changing the atmosphere with her intention and her talent.
Right.
It would completely change the whole dynamic of the track. It's incredible. Yeah. And I love to hear Brandon, and there's one more remembrance of that. Brandon and Dave playing, because Brandon and Dave had just finished We Done Spill, and you two were there doing that with me. Yeah. It was basically the three of us. Yeah. And we had like different drummers come in, Kevin and Marcus, and I think and Travis. I had three drummers on that. But that you can hear the heart of our work for that year, because it was only 8 months before when we recorded it.
And if I'm not mistaken, like, I mean, Dave and I were splitting an apartment that was so small I had to walk through his bedroom to get to mine.
Right. I remember.
We were splitting a part-time job. We had one part-time job that we then split in the mailroom of a construction company. So we were so up each other's asses at this point. Like, I had agreed, we had agreed to kind of move in together because we were like, man, we're both musicians. We're on the road. Like, it's cool. We're never going to see each other. And then we only played in the same bands and same sessions the entire time we were together.
I recall that place now that you mentioned it. Where was it in Atlanta?
It was Indicator, yeah, and it was this like weird little house that had been subdivided, and we had this cool Marty Kearns and his wife lived there.
Lived there, yeah.
Yeah. We had this cool little scene that was all these kind of artists that were living on top of each other. But yeah, we were like simpatico at that point,
For sure. I remember you showed me that suitcase Rhodes that you got in that apartment.
Yeah.
Room. You're like, check this out. Beautiful.
Hey, Andrew, I got to hear. Well, I listened to Spill today on my travel, and so it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. I can totally hear where you were coming from to land on that. But at the same time, the other part of that was about that harmony. For a long time, I thought that was you. It's just because I didn't recall it, and then today I also heard us sing Dominique.
Yeah.
And I realized that is where I learned singing Dominique with you is how I learned to sing She Gets Away with It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I would have never known what to do had I not sang that other song with you for so long.
Man, we didn't do Dominique that much, but I listened to that the other day, and I think I got to send that to you because is Mountain Stages the only thing you have of that?
I've got a live one from the day after Mountain Stage at CD 101.
But I have one with you and I sitting on stools at the old Nickel and Dime before this, like from 1996 or something, 95. Huh. Don, I would go in there every couple months and just put down a couple of acoustic things. And I have a couple tapes of that. And Dominique's on one of them. So I'll send you that.
Yeah, please do.
you go falsetto in that harmony on Dominique. It's like, whoa, you go like, the other one I remember you doing that with is on April Sessions on One Grain of Truth in These Sand. You would like,
I love that song.
it's so beautiful to hear you take those chances at that point, because you're just going like, wow, like it's cool to hear that.
It's just not long after I all the things that I could hear in my head, I got someone else to sing. I was just too nervous to do it. But, I would say this, singing harmony with you is very easy and very challenging. It's
the exact same thing. Yeah.
It's so easy because it's like you leave me like all this incredible, like I can choose a lot of different things to do it. And then once you get in there and you're even thinking about like the math, none of it matters until you find the one that makes you feel something. Because you're trying to match your feeling is hard, and but matching the math of it is like you're like, hey, you're like, everyone wants to harmonize with you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yes.
I never thought about time, like, and I always thought I had terrible time. Don and I did something on this last Smoke and Novas thing where it was remembered when we recorded Waited So Long.
Yeah.
It took us, we waited so long to get the take. It was like 3 hours, but I was sitting, and finally, like, when I get there, I don't need time. And in fact, time discourages me because I feel like I'm challenged by it when I hear it. So it's like, when I get there and I'm comfortable, it's in time.
Yeah. It's just all about getting to that spot. And once you're there, it's one take.
Right.
Literally, almost every time.
But it's all about time. It's not about hitting the right note or any of that. It's all about just getting the meter, like I'm in it.
And meter being your interpretation of the meter.
Right? That's right.
Song's interpretation of the meter, right?
Right.
Nothing that's sort of hinged to necessarily, that's hinged to some sort of,
to a click
this
track.
is exactly how it is, right? Yeah.
There was a producer in California who's like, you got to go to click. Listen, like I was playing him some stuff. I said, listen to the vibe. It's about the vibe. I don't care about whether it's time.
No. Don't.
It's one of the beautiful things about early bluegrass and folk music is that it's irrelevant. Like the melody is what defines the meter.
That's
and so you chart that shit and you're like, wait a minute, that was like a measure of 7 out of the middle of nowhere. That's some prog rock shit. Like Rush wants to do this, right? But like, it's happening here, but it's because it feels right.
Yep, that's right.
And if you listen to that part of your soul instead of the academic part of your soul, then you're serving that,
Yeah, I've always thought, Andrew, that this song's guitar part, which I've always loved, sounded like a piano.
Yeah.
It does have that kind of vibe.
It feels like as I listened to it for years and years and years, I was like, I wonder what that would sound like if you just played the finger picking as piano stuff.
I wrote that the same time. I was visiting from California when we wrote Too Fast Coming Down, another relationship between two songs on the record. And I wrote that in your house at the same time, and I wrote it in an alt tuning. So, and it was really strummed. And then I went back and I couldn't get it past a certain point, and I said, I'm sure you're familiar with that, Christian. If you the guitar player, when you get to a alt tuner, you get to a song, you're like, and so I took it out. I said to myself, put this in regular tuning. Like I transposed it.
Yeah, relearn it.
Regular tuning to pick it like that. I would have never done that otherwise.
Oh, interesting.
But I wanted to finish the song, and that kind of jogged me to finish it.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's awesome.
Process. Yeah.
That's great, man. Okay.
Next song, Hard Rain, is coming up next. I'm muting you all. Bam! Okay, Hard Rain. 3, 2, 1, go!
Everybody around here looks thirsty, even though it's been raining for weeks. And old man McAllister has moved up to the second floor, he swears. Texas might rise again if they could fix the leaks, and it's a hard rain Running in the gutters is a hard rain, keeping me awake. A hard rain, banging on my shutters. Boy, you know you'll never bend until you breathe. Youngest Johnson kid is fighting with the peanut man while his daddy dreams of another time. Back when he owned the farm, when he kept his family warm, tucked up tight in his young wife's arms. Now it's a hard rain, running in the gutters. It's a hard rain, keeping me awake. A hard rain, banging on my shutters. Boy, you know you'll never bend or take a break.
That is like one of my favorites.
So great.
Has been
Yeah,
on this.
for sure.
It's an outlier to me sonically. It's great, but it seems like the edge of maybe what we were doing on that record on one level. It's like I don't know, a bit of an outlier.
Where did we record that?
At the
That was
house.
This is the one that I have no, that was at the theater. Hard Rain?
Really?
I'm positive because like I remember, I'm pretty sure that I did some of that Mellotron at least because you would like left the MPC set up, and I have a visceral memory of this.
Yeah.
And like I started like doing layer after layer after layer of Mellotron. I layered like the cellos and I layered the trumpets. And I was like, oh, that's so cool together. And it was like I was just jerking around with it.
Yeah, it feels like if it went on for another like 8 minutes, there's actually like the second part of the symphony and the third part of the symphony, and it like like.
I remember this is like Andrew. This is like waited so long. It's another one of those songs that I heard. I was like, I have a vision for this, and like I wanted to start small and just be a steady climb, like climbing up a mountain until you get to the end, and it just like releases into Riverty Mountain High, which is like
it's so great.
Over the edge at the end that you break. It's like
so good.
Well, there's so many. To me, we talk about MVPs, and Brandon had played drums with us at shows, but this
was like first time I
think on a record, and it's like it reminds me of Jerry Hansen. That the swing is so slow, it's like you're falling off a cliff, but it's so beautiful. It's my favorite kind of drumming.
You keep me in that.
This is my second visceral memory of this song, and that was you playing drums on this, Brandon. And I was like, holy shit!
And I thought I did that in that front room of the house. But maybe
we did it. It was on a trap kit. I remember it was a small kit. Like I remember you just being like, "Oh, sure, I'll do it, whatever." And like we put it together. It probably had like 5 mics on it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was right in front of the control room window, down on the carpet.
Okay.
I think that's where we cut it. But I totally remember you doing that and being like, "Damn, I gotta play." Like I had no idea.
You keep me in that mid-tempo and River Deep Mountain High. I could do that all day. Like that's my jam right there.
Sounds great. It's so well recorded. And Don, your bass playing. That's your bass playing. That rhythm section is tight.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
I remember that. Fun.
You know what reminds me that like the level of compression. I'm going to do the geek out on production for a minute. The level of compression going on there reminds me of the Los Lobos, like Kiko and Colossal Head and that Latin Playboys record. All those records, I remember being so like blown away at what you could do to drums.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where that lines up with this, but this to me feels very concurrent with that. Like
it was definitely getting heavy into that. Like I got my API compressors, which just absolutely stomp on things. They sound god awful. They either sound terrible or they sound amazing. And that was one of the songs I used them on. It was on the 2 rooms. I just stomped on those and
you hear it on the cymbals. You hear it on those crashes where it's like, and what's funny is like, I mean, I know how it works now, but how it emotionally works is it's like, this is so fucking loud that this cymbal just barely cut through. Like that's what it tells your brain is like, you are so loud right now. You can barely hear the cymbal,
This song has some weird stuff in my mind, and now we're all talking about it. It's starting to come back a little. One is, Brandon, I remember we had an argument.
Oh, I'm sure we did. Yes.
We had an argument about how to start the song. And you were like, no, like the Flaming Lips. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, the fill. It should, I want a fill that just keeps going and going and going and going.
I remember that.
Right?
Totally remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, no.
That makes no sense. Yeah.
I was like, don't you know who I think I am? I'm right. Like, and you were like, no, man, let's really do this. And now that I
remember that, that's
right.
So
cool. And it's, not just a lesson in trusting you, but 2 other things. One is my voice is so busted at the top of that song.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. but I don't need to.
I feel like I feel like we cut this pretty late at night. Does that ring a bell to anybody?
It might.
I mean, I feel like you guys like had either had a couple of gigs in a row or something, but I don't remember quite why your voice is worn out. I just remember it was definitely dark outside. That's all I know, and I remember where the drums were.
What I love about it is that's like me at my like most broken sounding.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's what your voice gets to.
And
I love it. So too. It's really something.
The stretch that happens when you put Andrew's most soaring onto my most,
like
ripped, and it's a thing that I don't know how to ever paint that except with that. Like that's the only way to do it. And I remember this was the time that I hadn't really realized that I was just getting used to the idea that you shouldn't feel ashamed if your song title was the same as a previous song title that exists in the world.
Right.
And there's a lot of like shame involved as a writer because you're self-policing, right? And I learned my self-policing slowly. I had to learn sometimes the hard way, and I remember this and going, no, we can never play this because of that. And I think it was Andrew, you going, no, man, no, this is great. You should stay on this. And
it's great.
And I did, and I also remember, check this out. This is strange, Brandon. Maybe you remember this too. In the same day we did this, we did a song that I had just been messing with about a title with the girl's name Genevieve in it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah, you ready for what happened to that?
Yeah.
So like 10 years later, I'm under the gun to deliver songs for a Sugarland record, and I just pull that. I had a bag of lyrics that weren't finished, and I just kept it that long. And you get to reach in and pull one out, and sure as shit, she reached in and pulled out Genevieve, and we finished the song, and it's on a Sugarland record.
Oh wow, really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I always remember that song. It's a great song, and it sounds very. The spirit of that song is this song. Brandon played drums on that demo of Genevieve.
I did.
And they're so connected, and so, and I love that for people that are going backward in time with us on this. Like, hey, it all started with these guys.
How often do you guys play drums where Brandon's playing drums and you play? Like, we're so used to him doing that, and he played drums occasionally with us.
Well, a lot now because this new band Dark Water that we're doing. I do all the drumming in that.
Oh, cool.
But not live, but on the records. Okay. So I'm doing more and more drumming. I'm dusting off the old sticks.
So I have a question. So when we go to listen to this last song, can we back up and listen to just go back 20 seconds into the previous song? Because there's a thing that happens.
Yeah, that's a good call. Well, I don't think we can do that, or at least I can't with the way I'm listening.
The way you're listening? Okay.
Like I just have like straight up MP3s, So,
right.
But I could imagine it. I remember it. So, but I do. That transition was.
It really tells me like, the end of Hard Rain is essentially you guys like building. Andrew and I we're done. We're changing clothes while you're
right.
and it is like this is the coolest way that I literally pitched this next song for someone this week, and it's not even my song. Like like this song is like
this song
is something else.
It stops my heart always
every time.
And the way you play it, Christian, for years I've been trying to, because I played it at weddings and all these different things. It's probably the song I stopped playing largely for a number of years, but I would play this song every once in a while. So, but that way that you claw the electric it's a little, there's a couple broken notes. It's a little off time. It's so beautiful and it's so bruised and it's really great. The electric intro, and then the build, and Don's production of the last bit when it's buzzing like it does. I don't know what he did to get that, but it's really beautiful. You know, it's like, so easy to sing into. You
know, like I told you guys, you know, my wife asked Christian for the files of this record to play it for me on my 50th birthday last year. Mm-hmm. And like, I literally fell out when this song was on. I mean, I'd had a couple of beers, I'll be honest, but I was like inconsolable. I was like, yeah. It was crazy. It's so beautiful. And it, like, listening to the whole record, I had chills for like an hour and a half. And then this came on, it was just like the end of me. I was done. It was so beautiful.
So like the way Hard Rain is like the apex of the record, and it's a really great last song. You could see that going away, and I could hear the whole record done. I think that's what Christian's getting at by hearing that 20 seconds, because you're like, whoa. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, and we were very conscious about giving it a 5-second space, almost like it was a buried track, like they used to do.
Right. Yeah, very conscious. I remember that exact thing. It was supposed to be, I remember having that, like, should we even start idea? But then we figured we had to because it's a real song. But, like, I remember thinking about not even starting and having it be a buried, like a surprise track.
Right. Hence epilogue. That's a perfect. Yeah. That's how we were thinking.
Let's listen to the epilogue. I love it.
All right.
You all. Okay, I'm counting you down. 3, 2, 1, go.
I didn't think I could love again. I could not imagine the need. I was dead inside till you arrived. You made me want to believe. Under the current, over the road, I can't remember that dead place no more. And you made me wanna sing again. You made me wanna reach to the deepest part of my heart. I can feel it again and I'm free. Maybe this is all in my head, but without it I'd be better off dead. And I could devise a million reasons why, but not this time. I'm gonna let it stretch, I'm gonna let it rise. I'm gonna press my foot to the floor. I'm gonna show you what I feel inside. I'll be the mirror on your door. So let's walk outside in the moonlight, take in the pale lovely night. 'Cause I'm done with the run and the seek and the hide, baby. With you I'm alive. With you I'm alive. With you I'm alive again. With you I'm alive. With you I'm alive.
What's that guitar at the end?
I don't know. It's the same guitar part.
But it's a different guitar. That guitar only comes in for the outro of the song, or like the end of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is panned. That guitar is panned right, and it's playing that little delicate.
Is that an acoustic? Because it sounds.
Yeah, it sounds like he's playing it almost on the same guitar.
I think it's electric, but it's just it had an analog delay on it, like to make it roll.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
And so is that because the guitar that plays the intro, is that you, Christian, playing the electric from the intro on?
Yes.
no,
Like what guitar is that?
that is this. Well, look. So, go ahead, Christian. I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's this. I remember it, and I could be wrong. I may be mixing up two songs, but I thought that Andrew played this live. I'm almost sure you. I don't know how you couldn't have played the guitar
No.
live.
We never did that. Christian learned this from
He taught me.
I basically just ghosted the chords, and he came up with that great the little hammer on, and that's all him. I never did that.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm mixing it up with the one before then, where you were in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I don't remember how we did the guitars on this one.
I remember singing this. We built this, right? And I think Christian probably knew it well enough. I must have sang a scratch to it, but I remember doing a proper.
I think maybe that's what I'm thinking.
It was done, and then I did a main vocal.
That's what I'm remembering is like you singing it. Yeah.
Right.
And like.
I remember singing it in the booth at the theater at the cinema.
Yeah.
And it already being arranged, kind of like Billy and the Time Machine. We might have done it the same day. I remember I had a friend who said, Andrew, your records should have maybe 2 of those moments. This record. You might be overdoing it on this one. But it is. I like Tumble Lane and With You on the Live and Come On.
It's so good though. And it's so earned at this point in the record. I think that's what's kind of beautiful about the track order as well, is that we've earned this space at this point, which is palm of your hand and then emoting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so well delivered. Yeah.
What is that sound that's going away that I always say sounds like a hive of bees? Something. There's a pad. Somebody is. I don't know. That must have been you, Don. That's. Studio.
I think so, because there's a synth part that plays up until the Hammond comes in, and the Hammond and the synth part are playing together, and I think I did those.
So here's what the liners say.
Yeah.
The liners say, I just sing it. Christian's playing electric and keyboard pads. And then Brandon plays Hammond.
I now know. I remember what happened. We did this upstairs.
Right.
And because that guitar tone is so funky because it's a high-strung electric guitar, it's my old G&L.
That's right.
That's it.
And I was experimenting because I don't know enough about pedals. Don's usually the pedal guy, right? And I knew, but I had that whatever that
Roland, that you're using the internal effects.
I was using the internal effects, and I just didn't. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew enough to go, oh man, I like that, and I started playing it.
Yeah.
Because I just like the way it sounded.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Andrew, like, come on, put the headphones on.
Exactly.
And then you saying it down maybe against me.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And then we took it down to Don, and I think what that is, that's a Roland like Juno pad or something that I got from like Miko or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Don must have did his magic to it.
And then Don bumped it up, and then we went back and readdressed the vocal because I can tell that the top of the song is a guitar that I went back and put on again.
Yeah, I can tell it too. Yeah, you're right.
And the B3 was done downstairs, and then there's that point in the song. There's sort of a delineation in the middle where it sort of, we begin our exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's all these new sounds that come in there, and those must have been added downstairs.
Yeah, that was all stacked downstairs for sure.
Did you play that little staccato guitar part in the right phones?
That is like my go-to trick. It always has been. Like play 2 notes really high up, just go dee doo dee doo dee doo doo. It still is a chorus every time. So I probably could play.
Right.
And it still works.
Like forensically, that makes sense. You don't remember it, but
But we did
forensically,
not
yes.
credit you with electric guitar on that, Don.
Well, we'll let that one slide.
Yeah.
I'll tell you two things about this that really have stayed with me forever. One is that, Andrew, your performance on this is one in which, especially at this point in the record, the listener, I mean, as your partner, I already know, but even because I know, your ability to withhold and not even withhold and hear the shake. Like sometimes when you would go low in a melody, you'll go low and shake a little, like the engine's running, and I'm gonna turn it on, and I'm just letting you know barely that it's coming. But in this case, you didn't do that. You were like, and I'm here, and it was like a complete zen.
Yeah.
And it's unreal the amount of control that you exercise in the delivery of it, and then how powerful the payoff is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I can hear, we talked the other day about learning how to play the mic and miking that voice, and I can definitely hear me playing the mic in that
This
song.
is one of the ones where
I'm probably 2 feet away in that last note, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was also like coming off this. I mean, this recording, doing this record was when I learned with you to compress you. I have to like ride the input, because like you have the ability to go from so quiet, which I want to capture and I want to compress to like get the detail of it, to being so freaking loud, like 10 seconds later. So it's like there is no setting that's after all that. So I just have to literally ride you on an 1176, my favorite compressor ever, because you can control the input to it. It's going to react the same based on the input you give it. So like if I control the input to it, it won't ever over compress you. But it's like you just I have to ride it with you. It's like a kind of following.
There's kind of a move I do that I'm not conscious of, but now that I can hear it on 8 or 9 of the things I do. And it's going from falsetto to full voice. Ooh, yeah, like that coming out of falsetto into full voice. But it's very controlled. That's almost like, if I can toot my own horn, it's a little bit of a signature thing. And it always pops out. Like it just sits there
exactly
like,
right. Exactly right. Exactly right.
It's not even signature. I've been trying to get people to do it, and they don't understand me. They're like, I don't have any air left, Christian. I can't sing when I'm producing records. I'm like, come out of the falsetto and then just sort of push. Right. And they're like, no,
that's not possible.
And it really is, a testament to you and your instrument and your control of it. I will say that the experience of recording this song affected me in such a way because we were able to read each other. Even though we had a plan, we knew how the song went, but there's no click, right? But you need to make sure you feel like there's a click, and there are a couple of moments, just a few that stretch. And historically into the future, I had been trying to produce this song of Jennifer's over and over and over again. We did like the Black Crowes version, and then the big bombastic drum version, and the River Deep Mountain High. None of it worked. And I called Brandon. I was like, "Can you fly to Nashville?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Can we just do the thing that we do with Andrew?" And he's like, "Sure." One take, and it was the song "Stay," and it won a Grammy.
Oh, that's amazing, Christian.
But
wow.
It's because of that. It's that trust and that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then
your guys' freakish ability as accompaniment. I mean, you are like the baddest ass band as a brother duo. Like I was holy crap, was I so privileged to be able to go up there. And now you're hearing it. Like Christian, you have these, I can't wait to hear those tapes of the live shows, because fuck, man, you had worked up into like a really incredible, I mean, you are.
We would go all sorts of directions, and we'd take everybody and go there. And in a lot of ways, it's in Nashville, it's a badge of honor to be able to adjust outside of time, or adjust outside of key, or to bend just right at the edge of something. It's considered artistic.
Yeah.
Right.
and for us, it was like, it wasn't right or wrong. It was just, that's what it needed. Like
Yeah.
your voice before you, you can hear it in this recording. Like I stutter, like I went before you on a chord move. And even in the beginning, at one point, I don't even play the chord. I just move my fingers because I'm afraid to just give it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
ding. Like I just was too scared. And
I
I'm,
know back of it.
you know,
But you're keeping time. You keep time in the song in such a way as to be so soulful, because that is the bed track to me to sing into. And like I do this song now, like I just try to do it a cappella because I cannot even get close to that guitar. If I do play a guitar, it's just a ghost in a chord.
Yeah.
It's just,
Well,
I can't do what you did on that. There's so much mojo in between the two of you. And I love the production. Don panning it very hard left and right.
So hard, yeah.
Guitar, and you're right. And
The
Brandon's keyboard, it's like,
yeah.
it's the whole thing came together.
So let's wrap this up with, I want to ask a couple of questions to each of us, right? We'll each kind of answer. And if there's others that pop up, we can ask those too. So I don't have to drive all this, but so it's been however many years since we made this. Okay. If we went in tomorrow to make this record, what would each of us do differently? Like we've learned, we've dulled, we've evolved, we've, like life has happened to all of us. We all got a little gray going on, right? If we sat down to make this record and we were going to start, it's Friday, we're going to start Monday morning. What would you do differently approaching this record?
I'm going to start because I honestly, and I know this is like a trite answer, but I would not do a single thing differently because like there is no fucking way we could ever recreate the spirit that record has, like, I mean, everything that we've talked about for the last, couple of sessions, like we got there through years of like, you guys were playing together. I was recording you, like we all knew each other intimately well. We were friends and like, every single session had its own vibe. And like, there's no way that all the little happenstance things that happened to make this record what it is, I don't know how you ever recreate that or beat it, I mean, there's things that I hear that I would love to remix, and like I wish I had the master tapes. Like, oh my god, was I like on crack when I mixed that? But it still has a spirit to it, and like I don't know. That's my two.
Yeah,
I
hear that. I suppose I would maybe just throw everything up in the air and say, start again,
Yeah.
Really, honestly, not try to recreate it, but be like, how does this hit you now when you're sitting in the room? And it would be a really wild experiment because some things could be completely.
That's true. Yeah.
Different, I mean, I think they could consider it. And, at that point we had been, Don addresses that point really well, really burnished to be right there. Like we had played a lot, we'd recorded enough, and it was all within a couple years there. So we were really primed to make that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
For me, like, thinking about this, answering my own question, it's that I was so unconscious at this period. I was doing what I felt like doing or what I thought I needed to do. And I approach production specifically very differently now. Like I'm very conscious about it. And I love this record, but I would also love to have been as conscious as I feel now about production while we were doing this, so that I could be like, oh, what we're doing now is building tension. And then we're releasing it in this way. I know 8,000 ways to do that. Like, let's open the Rolodex. What if we tried this one?
But don't you think, I totally agree, but don't you think we would have overthought it?
100%.
And like, there's like this juvenile, we barely knew what we were doing quality to it. If we all sort of applied our current skills, it would probably be like
I know. Well, yeah, and it's like the genius of naivete, right? You know, like it's such a precious thing, but it's so hard in retrospect to not want to go back and be like, oh, but
yeah,
you know, like thinking about what I don't know, like I feel like when I listen now, I'm like, oh, I get what was happening. Now I understand.
You tweak it a little and make it just that much better.
Yeah. Different, or see if it went a different direction. Like I could have I know the language now that we were speaking then.
Right.
And I feel like I was in many ways, you know, illiterate in that. Right. Mm. I was just present.
Well, you were an infant.
I was an infant. And to be able to relive that experience, but then be literate and be like, oh, I understand the context of this. And this also applies to this over here, this over here. Hard to do because obviously my journey as a producer has to do with everything I've listened to from then to now, right? Which didn't exist back then. So, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I've been, I wouldn't change hardly a thing. I'm with you, Don. Yeah. It feels to me like I've been chasing this record for a long time. I think that the thing that I love about it, and that also is now being faced and challenged, is I kept saying, and I remember saying this back and forth with you, Andrew, like, man, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. Like, and as hard as we were at the times were, and we were doing all sorts of things creatively and personally, all these things were happening, and I just didn't feel like the band had said what we needed to say. Like what I always knew what we could do, and it lived as a potential in my mind. And there's something incredibly satisfying about listening to this record and going, yes, yes, that's what you can do without ever even knowing. And it gave me my first feeling of, oh, okay, don't ever settle until you feel this on every record you make.
Right. That's right.
Set the bar there.
And from there forward, I was like, okay. And I turned into a neurotic person a little bit, but it was just chasing recordings that and now I probably, I still would change nothing. I mean, there's nothing about it because it has more emotion in everything in it than almost anything I've ever recorded.
And same here. Me too. You know, like
I tried to chase it with Travel Mercies. I was very specific with the Smoke and Novas album. I thought it's like I knew I couldn't do it, but I wanted to make a story record. I wanted to make that same linear ride again, but it's not possible. It's just not possible without you in the mix because we are so particularly contrasting. We have such a particular contrast of our voices and our styles and our ease and our, I could never do that again. I mean, I could chase it. I could chase my tail forever trying to do it because I love it so much, but it would be hard unless I did it with you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and then it would have to be something else. We'd have to say, well, we did that.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? What's the next thing?
And I think that's the point.
To your point, Brandon.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to be unsure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I consider myself in my life and my vulnerabilities and my shortcomings, and I've gotten to the age where I now accept the fact that that's what makes me interesting. You know, and I learn the interesting thing about carpentry is how little I know. And I could spend 100 years doing it, and I'm going to learn every day, and I'm going to feel dumb every day. But it's always challenges me to, like, I'm never a master as a carpenter. I don't know if I'll ever be. And I think it's good to be in that space because you hit things, you search in a different way. I think it makes you, I don't know if I'm making sense.
That's exactly right. So I feel like I got to a place in my production career where I was like starting to phone it in. Like it got so easy. Getting a good drum sound is easy.
Mm-hmm.
Your assistant engineers set everything up, and you turn 4 knobs. It's like, there you go, there's your drum sound. And it stopped being interesting to me. It like stopped being fun, and I kind of checked out of it for a while. But this record was when I think all of us were kind of at the peak of our discovering what this magical thing music is, like being able to make it and being able to record it. And like,
Yeah.
it's like, will always be, I've said this many times and I will say it a million more. It is the record I am most proud of that I've ever been a part of. Like truly, like this is the record that I wish had seen light of day. I hope that it does. And, it like makes me happy every time I hear it, and I'm like so glad that we're kind of.
It's so well said. It's so well said. And I think that that's exactly, kind of where I'm arriving at revisiting this is how valuable that mindset was then.
Right.
And how far I've gotten from then to now. And while that's a long road to travel, it isn't at all. It's really just a mindset. And I think that the process of revisiting this and re-releasing this also has a cathartic process for each of us to kind of hit that reset button.
For sure.
And like go back into this process with naivete and danger and learning and playfulness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been listening to these Hi-Res recordings, and it's just remarkable within a span of just a year or two, the growth, Christian, because you're involved with it. And we mentioned about the finger picking earlier. Yeah. Granddad was like at that Danny Brown session, and that was the first song I ever finger picked. And I was terrified of that.
Right.
And the same session, I can't even use a song called New Song because I'm playing the guitar so hard that I had not learned how to play the mic yet, right? So it's like it just sounds like a huge jumble of I can't even use it. I try to ghost chords to kind of it's a key. It's certainly a key, and I'm singing it, but I can't tell what the fuck that guitar is doing. It just sounds like white noise,
Right.
And within a year of meeting Christian, we'd gotten St. Christopher's done. I mean, I listened to Get Me Out of Here on St. Christopher's from New Song, and that was maybe only 8 months. And there's such
it's different.
there's such like it's a whole different thing. And that's you, buddy. Like you were already there. You were introducing me to the fact of easy does it work. Easy on that guitar a little. Christian would like hit those chunky bass notes like, come on, Drew, get here, will you? Jesus. So it's cool to listen to that in contrast now, 10 years later, that's like, think about that year that I'm talking about between white noise of a guitar, now the intention of 4 people who are searching for that amount of time, gone out and done their 10,000 hours playing in front of people together. Yeah. And now you get this magic. And it's like, and that was it. Like that was our last statement before we were picking it up. Cool.
And what would you have done had you known at the time? Like if you'd had that little like visit from the Christmas future on your way to the studio in one of these sessions that was like, oh, by the way, you're going to do this record, might never come out. You're going to like, it's going to be years later. Like this is going to be some moment of significance,
right.
Not just a day in your thinking of progression,
They tell me I get the question a lot of, if you could go back to your 17-year-old self, what would you tell him? Or what's the one piece of advice that you give? And I guess now we're all at the age where they're asking us, what would you tell other artists, like who are starting out? And I say the same thing, and I think I got it from you, Don, but I'm not sure. But it was just remember, this is not the last record you're ever going to make.
Yeah. That's it.
Right. I told that to Talia Paul.
So much pressure.
She was over at my house singing something, and she went through this just intense. And I said, Talia, it's just a moment in your day. That's another way you can look at this moment. Breathe into that. This is just like this too shall pass. It's just another moment.
Yeah.
Just
the one thing that's the one thing that I get, talking to old people,
Us.
people that happen to be older. One thing I get when I, talk to people, everyone always says that I had a gentle demeanor, and but it's like, you're not going to sing well if you're not relaxed. You're not going to play well if you're not relaxed. And like, I was always just sort of like, that for me was when I first started at 18 years old, and up until, as long as I could keep it that way. I tried to just keep it calm with candles and like fun, and like, this is supposed to be fun. We're playing music. Like, it's not supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be scary. So
yeah.
Well, you always had that, Don. You were the easiest. You brought that out in performances for sure.
Yeah.
It was, and I've worked with producers where you're like, I mean, on Bloom, it was like, I don't know if you remember this, Christian, but on Close Down, we did 10 takes where the producer just kept saying, sharp, 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 sharp. Can you imagine trying to create a vibe with somebody in your head fucking phones barking sharp at you?
Sharp.
Sharp. Of course I'm sharp.
I do remember that, and because I was always flat. So
Perfect.
That's great, but yeah. In the sentiment that I was talking about, even though that's advice I give, I remember really feeling like this was the last one we might make.
I remember that.
And I remember the feeling and how willing I was to never give up if that was the case. And you just don't know. You can't tell about things, but I remember that feeling, and I cling to that advice, even to myself all the time. It's not the last one. And but it's that question, if it's your last day on earth, what would you do? If this is the last record that Andrew and I get to make, what would we do? And yes, we would go cull through 70 songs. Yes, we would take years to make it. And yes, we would make it this good, because it does. We deserved it to each other, much less, and finally stopping trying to get accepted by a radio station or something.
Right.
Like, when do you finally put that down?
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's when you're really doing it. And the most fun we really had was out there playing in front of people and communing. And that wasn't for a radio station. That wasn't. Right. That was just to get people together. That was just to get people, just whatever we did. That's why I love that little write-up that I put in the Dropbox, because it captured that pretty well. Our shows were emotional. We were searchers. That's why I also love the name of our band. And that's why it had anything to do with Kurt Vonnegut. It just seemed to me that Billy Pilgrim was like a searcher, a young searcher's name. And that's what the music meant, to everybody who was discovering it too.
I would love to find someone somewhere that hears this for the first time and doesn't know that it's from the past. I'd give money to just hear them talk it. Like, what is this? And don't tell them. Because I think, releasing this record just because it's never been really released, it's going to have a stamp of 2020 on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
And we wouldn't change anything. So,
in that spirit, I think we should wrap this up. Any last words anyone wants to have in there? I think we've summed this up pretty damn well.
So smooth, Brandon.
It's what this mic does. It sort of brings me a certain authority.
It gives you the authority.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that this has been an incredibly cathartic experience. What I thought was literally going to be some help figuring out the credits turned out to be so much more. So very much appreciated that part. And it just makes me that much more excited to release it.